Hey, welcome to another episode of Dave's Imaginations. Today we're going to assemble the head to the Mostarle Nebulipedes metallic model. The head, the magnetic head that pops on and pops off. The magnetic head of the Nebulipede. Now you might notice that one of my eyeballs, LED lights, did not work. This was straight out of the box. Mostarle, that's your fault. I could probably call them and have that replaced. I just haven't bothered. So a couple notes before we get to the video of the assembly of this thing is, first of all, right off the bat, get your orientations right. I put the screw head needs to go on the concave side of the magnet. I did that wrong the first time. You'll see it. I'll note it. I put it in red so the video was recorded as I assembled it, and so a lot of things I've learned since then. That being one, later on in the video, like one of the last steps, I have to go back and I fix this magnet that was put on backwards. So that's one of the things I did wrong. Another thing to note is that in a lot of the spots, you actually have to twist the metal to get the face to look right. Now, as I said in my previous video, don't worry so much about getting it to look exactly like it looks in the instruction manual. It's not gonna. You're not gonna get it perfect, except that it's good enough. And I think mine came out good enough. I'm pretty happy with it. Let's see some of my other notes. So step 2, the very second step, I got the bracket orientation wrong. I had to go back and take it apart, put it again. The bracket should angle toward the bolt head. I mentioned this. I put a note up on the screen as I get to that step as well. Like I said, the light didn't work. Mine didn't work. Maybe yours will. I hope yours does. Mine didn't. I'm sure I could go to support and get that replaced. Also, in steps 11, 7, 11, and 13, those are the steps where you have to literally bend the metal to get the pieces to look right. Also, in step 12, I over-tightened it. And the head of the bolt actually popped off. Very frustrating as you go through the tediousness of get that all just right and you get it, and then it breaks apart. So be careful. You want to tighten, but you don't want to over tighten. So with that, the head to the Nebulipede, what's going to happen is we're going to roll onto my title screen, and then we'll come back and I'm going to go through each step. I pull out the pieces, I go through the assembly, and I show you the part as it's done. Forgive me a little bit as the camera's coming down. You can't always see exactly how I'm doing, and I do a lot of editing. So a lot of times I'm struggling with it, and I don't include all the struggle in the video. But you will see I pull out the parts, I assemble it, and I show you what the part looks like after it's done. So stay with me, and we'll get right to it. Okay, for this first step, we need the SC2-12, the MGN10, the C10, the EN5, D6, BP, the B5, the MP, and the S2. And so we need one of each of those. And when we look at the X1, unlike the last time I started one of these projects, X1 means times 1 because we're building one of these. All right, and so let's put that. I'll pull out all these parts and we'll start putting it together. One thing to note before we get much further is on the instructions. It does says please screw gently in case of damaging the MG-N10 magnet. And I watched a different video, and indeed that person broke one. So we'll be very gentle with that magnet. Okay, here we have them all lined up. The SC2-12. And here the screwdriver's already been magnetized. That's nice and not nice at the same time. Then you have the magnet, which I've set separately aside because I didn't want it to magnetize everything yet. So then you have this coppery washer C10, the EN5, the D6, the BP, which is the washer. Then you have this B5 bracket, the MP, and the S2, and you slide that all on that one screw. So let's see how that goes. the washer, the bracket, this tiny little washer. So I keep toothpicks here so they don't magnetize. So I don't have to deal with the magnetism. All right. Now we need to put that little itty bitty washer on that nut. Can I just spin that just ever so slightly with the... Okay, to finally do it, I put some pressure on the nut with my finger and try to get that on there and hold it all steady as you get the Phillips, which is going to fight you because it's got the magnet right there to get it just inside the screw head. And now we got to be careful because the instructions very clearly say do not tighten. Don't make it too tight. But I'm very loose at the moment. So now I'm going to grab it with that nut with the nose pliers and then try to get this on there with the Phillips head screwdriver. I think I got it now. Okay. I don't want this too tight at all. Just barely so it won't turn without extra effort. Oh, do I dare? All right, I'm going to call that good enough. A little loose. All right, notice this is a little loose. I don't know. Because you have the purple-y spacer in there, it's not going to go much further than that anyway. So you might think that this is loose, but it's really not because that purple spacer below it has got it extra space. So I think this bigger is more decorative, and so that'll be loose, even though the rest of it's pretty tight. So that's how we're going to keep it for now. Maybe I'll change it later. We'll have to see. So that was step 1. Yay, step 1. Now let's go to step 2. SC2-10, CP, W3, B9, D8, D7, C9, 2. And just one of each of those. We have the SC2-10, the CP washer. We have 2 brackets of the W3, 2 of those. We have the B9. We have a D8 that looks like a decorative piece. We have a D7, looks like a fancy washer. We have the CP copper piece, C9, and then the M2. All right, let's see if we can put this all together. All right, the image shows on the D8 that stacks onto the circles. I assume those circles were the same on both sides. Okay, same on both sides. The D8 has the clean side. One side has these ridges, the other side is clean. Those go next to the clean side goes down, and then the copper piece with the flange goes down, so it will fit inside all those pieces. And then we got our itty bitty washer. I do sometimes wonder if a little nut driver would have been nice. Though I imagine this is so tiny that it might not have been good. I saw one person recommend tweezers, and I'm not sure that would be good or not. And maybe it would be. I might end up trying some tweezers just to see how they do. All right, now I kind of got that nut position there. I'm going to try my luck on switching hands and see if I can get the screwdriver on that. See how I kind of have that pressure, and now we're going to put that there, and we're just going to see if we can get that into that nut. Well, the nut's starting to... So then once the nut starts to spin a little bit, that's when I can grab it. See, now I got it started. Now I can grab it with the pliers. Now this one, I don't have a magnet, so I'm not too worried about breaking anything. So I think I'll tighten this one pretty darn good. But I also don't want to strip the little bolt. So, all right, we'll do it just like that. And those brackets have some openings so they can move a little bit. So we'll see if that becomes important later. So you'll notice that the bracket angles out at the same direction as the face of the screw, as does this bracket angles out toward the face of the screw as well, as the nut is opposite. So that is step 2. Step number 3. Looks like we're going to attach the part from step 2 and the part to step 1 with some brackets. Oh, and we're going to put some, looks like we're going to put some LED lights on this thing. Okay, so we need ST2-30, M2, L1, C9s, H8. All right, let's get these guys out. Okay, we have the SC2-30, then we have L1, light one, sure. And then we have a little copper spacer, we have the H8 bracket, and then we have a subassembly from the first step and the second step, another of those copper spacers, the other light, and then finally the nut. And we piece this all together. We have the light, the screw, the light, the spacer. Oh, almost did it again. You see, you don't realize that you need to do all these at once. So here's the bracket, and now we have the assembly from the second step and the assembly from the first step. Assembly from the second step is facing this way, and assembly from this side is facing that way. Hard to say. And in this case, the magnet really isn't doing us much favors, as it makes things want to snap. I'm going to say the bracket, this bracket is more flexible than the other bracket, so we can spread this out just a little bit. Just a little bit. But now that's loosened up, so we want to tighten that back up. We're going to tighten up this again from step 2, other hand. For me, the screw works better, the nut, the screw head works better in my right hand. That's pretty loose now. And we're going to spread those out pretty far. The H8 on the most inside, and then outside of that was the piece from step 1, and then outside of that was a piece from step 2. Then we get the final bracer, or not bracer, the final spacer. Then the other light, and then in the end, you have the itty bitty bolt. Grab the nut with the left hand, screw the bolt with the right hand. Sadly, testing this, it seems like one of the LED lights might be burnt, or well, might be out. You should be able to hand tighten it. Here you can see. Pretty cool. They light up and they insulate. However, this battery might be dead, I'm guessing. I've taken it apart and screwed it back together. It's not nearly as tight as this light, so that's a little too bad. But all in all, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool looking. Turn that light off. Just a slight turn will turn that light off on and off. Disappointed that didn't light up. Oh well. So there is the piece. There is the piece. That is how mine looks. We'll see. We'll see in later steps if I missed a detail that's important. That seems to happen. All right, so that was step 3. Now we're on to step 4. Let's pull out the pieces for step 4. SC2-10, SC2-10, MP, P7, C11, S2. One of each of those. S10, MP, P7, C11, and S2. Let's put that together. Now I've bent this bracket just a little bit out so I can fit the washer on it better. Let's see if that helps. All right, I think I got it started. Now we can grab it with the pliers and screw it up. Pretty tight. Pretty tight. All right, that's step 4. So it makes you wonder what was the difference between the one in step 4 and the one in step 5. Just looks like the claw might be pointed in a different direction. MP, P7, C11, and S2. This one is essentially the mirror of the other one. All right, made it pretty tight. Basically the mirror of the other one. All right, hopefully you can see that. All right, step 6. Looks like we're adding that to the assembly of that we did in step 3. Let's get our pieces out for that. SC2-12, MP, S2, and C16. We needed 2 of the MPs, 1 of the S2. Claws angle outward. And this goes in between, goes in that space. No, it's going to go in the narrow space. It says the light's going that way. It goes in between there. And this on the outside. And then finally the nut. All right, we'll see how that goes. Let's bend these eyelets. They seem like they're pretty well straight. So let's bend those back. Put the washer on the SC2-12. And this first mandible, maybe. Does it look like the picture? It could. It could look like the picture. Bracket of H8 has a space where the bracket is narrow and a space where the wide. So that we'll call this ears. This ear plate, the ears stick up. The ears go on the same side where it's wide, and then the bottom has the narrow part. This assembly, very delicately trying to fish this through, balance that little spacer, because the bolt goes through the bracket and has to hit that nut. So let's hold the nut with that. Let's see if we can do it this way. That magnet makes things more complicated, doesn't it? All right, I think it's time for the glue trick. Remember the glue trick? You glue a piece so you don't have to bounce it as much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little dot of glue right here on that. Then I can have that PVA, just simple PVA glue, and it'll hold it for me so I don't have to do that balancing trick. Little dab will do ya on a toothpick. Right there. Just, I don't need very much. All right. And we'll see if that is enough to temporarily hold that washer. Now the challenge could be that if the magnet is too strong, it could overwhelm that glue. All right, got that balance there. All right, anything I'm noticing is that on the assembly, you want the eye of this on the same direction as the head of the screw. Another trick is to have the patience to let that glue set up. I got that sitting in there. Right there. It's hard to see. We're going to let that dry a little bit, and we'll come back to it. The glue, the PVA glue on that spacer. We have our screw, washer, our assembly from step number 4, and we're going to try to feed this through. It's kind of pigeon toed, chicken toed, with the toes face out. Right, so put the other side on, another washer, and try to get this bolt on. It's tricky because in one step you want your dominant hand on one part, and then in the next step, the very next step, you might want your dominant hand on the other side, such is the case right now. Because right now, if this fell apart, in my hand and I had to re-glue that piece, it would be sad. I would be sad. But I can see that bolt is not on correctly. And then the washer falls off too, and my hand's starting to cramp. Claw piece from step 5 is next. We want that eyelet to be on the outside, not the inside. And I'm not worrying too much about positioning now because I want to get it on there first, and then maybe I can fiddle with it until I can get the positioning just right. I think I got a thread on it enough that I can flip this around, maybe get it tightened up a little bit. Left hand, I like to put the nut in my left hand and screw it up with the right hand. Oh, I got it on the rails now. Pretty darn tight. That tight. And now hopefully I can manipulate these claws, mandibles, whatever they are, so they are in a better position. Not exactly like the picture, only in that I bent these two claw pieces, mandible pieces, whatever these end up being, quite a bit. But I think that's going to be sub 6. That was a little bit of a challenge. Now to step 7. Now it's saying to bend those mandibles out 90 degrees. So these here, bend them out 90. I've got them kind of twisted. I'm going to bend those out 90 degrees and rotate P7 part 45 degrees internally. What's the P7 part? P7 part. Let's see what we could do. All right. Let's look at the picture. So these are supposed to be like mandibles. Okay, for this thing, you have to literally grab this mandible. It looks like a mandible to me, with your pliers and twist it into this orientation. You are bending the eye pieces, the piece, what is that? The C11 piece. You're literally bending that into this orientation. I was nervous I'd break it. It didn't break, so I'm okay. And I think in the end it looks okay. But if you look at this metal, it is twisted up good. All right, you had to twist that pretty good. Overall, I am a little bit concerned about how loose this head is. He's very loose, but we'll have to see. It's decorative, so we'll have to find out. In the end, I'm gonna stop touching with it, stop fiddling with it, and we'll call that done for now, unless there's a reason why I have to fiddle with it more later. That was step 7. That was a little tricky. Now, to be fair, in the book, it does say, note, bend the step 4 and step 5 part to right and left 90 degrees and rotate the P7 part 45 degrees internally. We did it, but it was a little bit of an arm wrestle. That was step 7. On to step 8. For step 8, we need SC2-10. We need P2. We need P7, C11, MP, and S2. Let's see if we can put those together. This is where I bend the eyelet ring out to give myself a little bit more room to put that nut on. All right, I think I have a thread on there. Hopefully it doesn't fall off when I pick it up. All right, let's screw it together. I've been doing this pretty tight. I don't know if that helped me in the last steps. Maybe straighten this eye back the way it was. That moves pretty easily. That is how it looks. Now I've loosened it up quite a bit, haven't I? Now I'm going to mirror it. Surprise! I was right. You need to mirror. I should look ahead to the next step. Might have saved me grabbing these bags twice. SC2-10, P2, P7, C11, MP, and S2. Get those guys out. Do the other one. All right, let's piece this together. We have the SC2-10, and then the MP. Then we have the P2 kind of pointing the other way. P7 kind of pointing the other way. C11, eyelet out. I like to bend that out just a little bit so I can fit that washer on. Give that washer a little more space. I think I have it on there a little bit. Grab the nut with my pliers. And once I get a little bit tight, I want to make sure I get it back in the orientation it wants. The orientation it wants, see this correctly, is that the claw is kind of opposite the eyelet. Kind of like that. That's step 9. Kind of the mirror of step 8. And step 10, we're going to attach that to the main assembly, the main head assembly. So we need SC2-6, MP, T5, and C14, plus the sub-assemblies of 7 and 8. Let's give this a go. You have the S2.6, S2-6, then you put your MP washer on it. All right, we can do that. Then you take the piece from 8. Now, there's a challenge because I don't remember which piece was 8. If I hold it in the orientation that they have, it looks more like this one. It looks more like this one, which has become loose. That shows it going like this, and then this, and then this piece with the purpley end out. It looks like we're going across the top. Is that the washer? Is that a dual washer, a dual nut? So the C14 looks like it might be a dual nut. Huh. Okay, so these are kind of like the eyebrows. And I don't know what these tiny little T5s are doing other than decoration. I think they're just antenna. I think they're just antenna. We're going to be bending these eyebrows kind of like we did with the mandibles so that they look right. I recurringly feel like I need to have another hand with this. I think it would be easier to put the T5 in the outside. That way it'd pinch with the rest of this as I try to ease on the C14. It is just decorative, I do believe. Now the other side. So I've done steps 9 and 10. Now I need to do the same for 11 and 12. SC2-6, SC2-6. We have the screw, we have the washer, we have the assembly, and I like to put the antenna on the inside of the bracket because then when I pinch it against the bracket itself, it is all pinched up with it. See if I can get that bolt, the golden bolt, the C14. Can I get that C14 on there? Kinda. Can I spin it? Oh yeah, this is delicate work. But I got a thread. I have a thread. Alright, now I can put I want it in my other hand. That tight. Alright, now we start manipulating it. Get the look the way you want it to look. Son of a buck. What just happened? Oh, the nut SC2-6 broke. C14 comes off easy enough. Hopefully they gave me an extra of this SC2-6. There's a lot of them, and they're little, so they might have. Try this again. SC2-6, we got our bolt. So it should go like that. Alright, now we have to see if we can get that bolt on there. It's kind of amazing I could spin that on that little bolt with just this toothpick. Lesson, you want it tight, but if you tighten it too tight, you could pop the head off the screw. No good. You want it? That was 13. I think so. Happy enough. I guess we'll call that the head, and we'll call. Okay, so that was the assembly of the head to the Nebulipedes. How did you do? What gave you problems? What tips and tricks might you have that would help out the other person to watch? I'm not monetized. I don't do this for money. I do this to help people that are putting this together. And so if you have tips, tricks, please leave them in the comments. And while you're down there, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like and subscribe, I'd appreciate it. So next video, we're going to get to the legs and the vertebrae. And I hope you'll join us for that. So until then, take care.